Hello and welcome to ESL Easy English, the podcast that helps you learn English through real conversations about everyday topics. I'm your host, James.
And I'm Alison. It's great to be here with you again.
Today, Alison, we're going to talk about something I think everyone enjoys: travel. We'll be sharing some of our travel experiences, stories from trips we've taken.
Oh, I love talking about travel. It's such a wonderful way to see new places and learn about different cultures.
Exactly. And for our listeners, we hope these stories will not only be interesting, but also help you with your English. We'll try to use clear language and explain any new words or phrases as we go.
That's right. So, James, where should we start? Do you have a favorite travel memory you'd like to share?
A favorite memory. That's a tough one. There have been so many, but I think one that always makes me smile is my trip to Italy a few years ago.
Italy! Oh, I've always wanted to go to Italy. What was it like?
It was incredible. I went with a friend and we visited Rome, Florence, and Venice. So we saw some of the most famous cities.
Wow, all three in one trip? That sounds like a lot of moving around.
It was, but it was worth it. Rome was amazing, of course. The history is everywhere you look. We saw the Colosseum, the Roman Forum, the Pantheon. It felt like stepping back in time.
I can imagine. And the food. I've heard Italian food is fantastic.
Oh, the food! That was definitely a highlight. Pizza, pasta, gelato. I think I ate my body weight in pasta, and the gelato was so creamy and delicious. I had a new flavor every day.
That sounds like heaven. What about Florence? I've heard it's a very beautiful city, especially for art lovers.
Florence was beautiful. It's smaller than Rome, and it has a really charming atmosphere. We visited the Uffizi Gallery, which has some of the most famous Renaissance art. I saw Michelangelo's David, which was breathtaking.
I've seen pictures of David. It looks so lifelike.
It really does. And Florence is also known for its leather goods. I bought a beautiful leather journal there. It's something I treasure.
That's a lovely souvenir. And then Venice? I imagine that was quite different.
Venice was magical. It's built on water, so there are no cars, only canals and boats. We took a gondola ride, which is a very traditional Venetian experience. It was so romantic, gliding through the narrow canals with the old buildings all around us.
I've always dreamed of a gondola ride in Venice. It looks so peaceful.
It is. Although it can also be very crowded, especially in the main areas. But if you wander off the main paths, you can find quiet little squares and bridges. That's where you really feel the charm of the city. So, Italy sounds like a perfect trip. What about you, Alison? Do you have a travel story that stands out?
Yes, I do. A few years ago, I went on a hiking trip to the Lake District in England.
Oh, the Lake District. I know it's famous for its beautiful natural scenery, mountains, lakes.
Exactly. It's a national park and it's just stunning. I went with a group of friends and we stayed in a small cottage. We spent most of our days hiking.
Hiking sounds like fun, but also quite tiring. What were the trails like?
Some were challenging, yes. We climbed a few mountains, or fells as they're called there. The views from the top were absolutely incredible. You could see for miles and miles with the lakes shimmering below.
That must have been very rewarding after a tough climb.
It really was. There's a sense of accomplishment when you reach the summit, and on some days the weather was perfect, sunny and clear. But the Lake District is also known for its changeable weather.
Ah, yes, British weather.
Exactly. So on one particular day, we started our hike in bright sunshine. We were all wearing t-shirts. But by lunchtime, the clouds had rolled in and it started to rain.
Oh no, did you have waterproofs?
Luckily, yes, we all had waterproof jackets and trousers, so we put them on and carried on. It was still beautiful, but in a different way. The mist rolling over the fells looked very dramatic and atmospheric.
That sounds like an adventure. Did you see any wildlife?
We saw lots of sheep, of course. They're everywhere in the countryside. And we saw some red squirrels, which are quite rare. That was a special treat.
Red squirrels are lovely. So, after a day of hiking, what did you do in the evenings?
We'd usually go back to our cottage, get warm and dry, and then cook a big meal together. Sometimes we'd go to a local pub for dinner. The pubs in the Lake District are very cozy. They often have a fireplace, and you can enjoy traditional British food like fish and chips or a hearty stew.
That sounds like a perfect way to relax after a long day of hiking. Did you do any boating on the lakes?
We did. One afternoon, we rented a small boat on Lake Windermere. It was very peaceful, just drifting on the water and enjoying the scenery. It was a nice contrast to the strenuous hiking.
It sounds like you had a very active and enjoyable trip.
It was. It was a great way to connect with nature and with my friends.
So, we've talked about Italy and the Lake District. Two very different experiences, but both sound wonderful. What advice would you give to our listeners who are planning a trip abroad?
That's a good question. I think the most important thing is to do some research beforehand. Look into the places you want to visit, the culture, and any local customs.
Yes, that's very important. Understanding a bit about the local culture can make your trip much more enjoyable and respectful. For example, in Italy, it's polite to greet people with buongiorno on the morning or buonasera in the evening.
Exactly. And knowing a few basic phrases in the local language can go a long way. Even just hello, thank you, and please can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Another tip I would give is to pack appropriately for the weather and the activities you'll be doing. I learned that the hard way on my Italy trip. I packed mostly light clothing, thinking it would be warm all the time, but some evenings in Florence were surprisingly cool.
Oh, yes, I can imagine. It's always good to have a light jacket or a sweater, even in warmer climates.
And for hiking, as you mentioned, waterproofs are essential, especially in places like the Lake District.
Definitely. Also, I think it's a good idea to have a rough itinerary, but also leave some room for spontaneity. Some of the best travel memories come from unexpected discoveries.
That's so true. We were in Rome and we'd planned to visit a specific museum, but on the way we stumbled upon a small, beautiful church that wasn't in any of our guidebooks. We went inside and it was so peaceful and full of amazing frescoes. It became one of my favorite parts of the trip.
Those are the hidden gems, aren't they? You find them when you're not looking too hard.
Exactly. And speaking of discoveries, what about food? Any tips for trying local cuisine?
My advice is to be adventurous. Try local specialties, even if they sound a bit unusual. That's part of the experience. And don't be afraid to ask for recommendations from locals. They often know the best places to eat.
That's a great tip. In Italy, I asked a shopkeeper where he liked to eat pizza, and he sent me to a tiny place down a side street. It was the best pizza I've ever had.
See? It works. And for our listeners who might be a bit nervous about eating unfamiliar food, maybe start with something you know you like pasta or pizza, and then gradually try other things.
Good point. And what about accommodation? Any thoughts on that?
Well, it depends on your budget and your travel style. Hotels are convenient, but B&Bs or guest houses can offer a more personal experience. And if you're traveling with a group, renting an apartment or a cottage can be a good option, like I did in the Lake District.
Yes, that's very true. And it can also be more cost effective, especially for longer stays.
Another thing to consider is travel insurance. It's not the most exciting topic, but it's really important. You never know what might happen, and it's good to be covered in case of illness or accidents.
That's a very practical and important piece of advice, Allison. So, to recap, our tips for travelers are: 1. Do your research about the destination, culture, and customs. 2. Learn a few basic phrases in the local language. 3. Pack appropriately for the weather and activities. 4. Be open to spontaneity and unexpected discoveries. 5. Be adventurous with food and ask for local recommendations. 6. Consider different types of accommodation to suit your needs. 7. Don't forget travel insurance.
That sounds like a comprehensive list.
It does. Now, Allison, let's talk a little about the challenges of travel. Sometimes things don't go as planned, do they?
No, they certainly don't. I remember one time I was traveling in France and my train was canceled at the last minute.
Oh, that's frustrating. What did you do?
I had to find an alternative way to get to my destination. I ended up taking a bus, which took much longer than the train, but at least I got there. It was a bit of a stressful day.
I can imagine. I had a similar experience when my flight was delayed for several hours. I was supposed to meet someone at the airport, and I was worried I would miss them.
What did you do in that situation?
I called them to let them know about the delay. Luckily, they were understanding and waited for me. But it meant I had less time at my destination.
Those unexpected problems can definitely test your patience.
They can. But I think it's how you react to them that matters. Sometimes these unexpected events can lead to new experiences. For example, when my flight was delayed, I ended up spending more time in the airport lounge than I ever had before. I ended up talking to some interesting people.
That's a good way to look at it, turning a negative into a positive.
Exactly. And sometimes it's the little things that go wrong that make for the best stories later on.
That's so true. You can laugh about them afterwards.
So, what about learning English while traveling? Do you have any tips for our listeners who want to improve their English when they're abroad?
Oh, absolutely. Travel is one of the best ways to practice English. My biggest tip is to try and speak as much as possible. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Most people are very friendly and will be happy to help you.
That's a very important point. Many learners are shy about speaking because they're worried about making errors, but mistakes are a natural part of learning.
Exactly. So, try to initiate conversations, ask for directions, order food in English, Talk to hotel staff, or even strike up a conversation with someone sitting next to you on a bus or train.
And if you don't understand something, don't hesitate to ask the person to repeat themselves or to speak more slowly. Most people are happy to do that.
Yes, you can say, "Sorry, could you repeat that, please?" Or, "Could you speak a little slower, please?"
Those are very useful phrases. What about using English in more formal situations?
Well, if you're visiting a museum or a tourist attraction, you can often find information in English. Many signs are also in English, especially in tourist areas. And don't forget about technology. Use translation apps if you get stuck, but try to use them as a tool, not a crutch.
That's a good balance. So you're saying use technology to help you, but still try to do the speaking and understanding yourself.
Precisely. And if you're staying in a hostel or a hotel, you'll often meet other travelers who speak English. It's a great opportunity to practice with people from different backgrounds.
It really is. And it's not just about speaking, listening is also crucial. When you're out and about, try to listen to the conversations around you. You'll pick up on pronunciation, new vocabulary, and natural sentence structures.
That's a great idea. Even just listening to music or watching TV in English while you're traveling can help.
So, to summarize our tips for improving English while traveling: 1. Speak as much as possible and don't be afraid of mistakes. 2. Initiate conversations in various situations. 3. Ask people to repeat or speak slower if you don't understand. 4. Use English information signs and materials at tourist sites. 5. Use translation apps as a helpful tool. 6. Connect with other English speakers, especially other travelers. 7. Practice your listening skills by paying attention to conversations and media.
That's a fantastic set of tips for our listeners. Travel really is a golden opportunity for language learning.
It truly is. Well, Allison, we've covered a lot of ground today, from our travel experiences to practical tips for planning trips and improving English. It's been a very enjoyable conversation.
I agree, James. It's been lovely sharing these stories and advice with you and our listeners. I hope it's inspired some of you to plan your next adventure.
Me too. And remember, wherever you travel, try to embrace the experience, learn as much as you can, and most importantly, have fun.
That's the perfect way to end. Thank you for having me, James.
Thank you for joining me, Allison. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in to ESL Easy English. We'll be back next time with another topic to help you improve your English. If this video was helpful, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel grow. Goodbye, everyone, and have a beautiful day.
Goodbye, everyone, and see you soon.